Hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. If you do like the programming you see here and the musicians and artists that I visit with, please be sure and hit the like button below and also subscribe to the channel. Rob Lewine is an American bassist, songwriter, and world-renowned photographer based in Los Angeles. Rob began his musical journey by playing bass in city lights in the mid-60s. In 1968, he joined Illinois Speed Press and played on their debut album. A brief sojourn found Rob playing on some demos for Little Feat that would be instrumental in aiding the band to secure a future contract with Warner Brothers. And then it was on to the band's song. There Mr. Lewine can be heard playing on the 1970 album entitled Song Album. Never one for overstaying his welcome, Rob was off to play with the band Blues Image for a spell. In the mid-70s, he became a freelance photographer with photos appearing in major magazines. Eventually, Rob would end up working in commercial stock photography. But after an extended hiatus, the music bug bit again, and in 2006, my guest formed the Enzymes, which would morph into the Enzymes with the active ingredients. I like that name. Yeah. Well, welcome, Rob.
Thank you.
It elicits images in your head when you think about that, like washing clothes, I think. Yeah.
If that's a question, the active ingredients were two female studio singers
Yeah.
who blessed us with their participation. They were just great. They are just great. Great people, great singers, and gave us a real kind of punch that we lacked without them.
Okay. Hence the active.
Let me name them, okay? Let me name them. Phyllis
Okay.
Bailey Brooks and Roxanne Mayweather.
Okay. All right. All right. I like that. I do like that. The name of that, the active ingredients. Well, take us back, Rob, to the beginning. Where were you born?
New York City.
Okay. Okay. I knew you were from up in that area of the country. Do you recall childhood growing up as far as like, did you hear music in the household?
Constantly. Yes, I come from I guess you could call it a show business family. Both my father and his brother, my uncle, were big deal participants in the television industry. My dad was the vice president in charge of programming, first at ABC, then NBC, then CBS, and then at Warner Brothers. Not actively involved in music, but his brother Richard was both a composer and a television producer who worked with Leonard Bernstein.
Oh, okay.
And full disclosure, I'm related to Richard Rodgers.
Oh,
Who is,
Rogers and Hammerstein.
yes, and my
Yes.
uncle Richard Lewine
Mhm.
became the head of the Rodgers and Hammerstein office at one point and handled all of their rights and royalties and all of that stuff. But Richard was a composer in his own right. And so, yes, there was music always. And I think the earliest thing I ever heard was Gershwin.
Oh, okay.
And then Richard Rodgers, of course, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Rodgers and Hart. It was just on. So, but that did not incline me consciously towards music. I just knew that I loved music.
Okay. Okay. Well, there was definitely that gene that was there in the family heritage as well. Well,
On the other hand, my mother couldn't carry a tune to
oh,
save
is
her
that
life.
right? I hear that a lot.
Tone deaf.
One member of the family, father or mother, and the other one, no, not so much. Well, was the bass the first instrument you learned to play? Can you remember?
Um, let's say yes.
Okay, okay.
I played a little bad guitar in the beginning, but the first bass I played was a washed-up bass in a jug band in college.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
which I made. I made the bass.
Did they have the washboard? And
Oh
everything?
yeah, it was a we
Okay,
were like
you were like
an
full fledged.
adequate. We were a funny jug band. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, well, as far as pop music or rock, can you recall one of the first 45s or albums that you got?
Uh, oh, it was probably Elvis or the Everly Brothers.
Okay. Okay. Those were early influences.
Maybe Ray Charles.
Oh,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, interesting. I don't know the real history behind this, why it's different across the pond in UK. They call them singles, we call them 45s.
Sure.
Why the hole was bigger for ours? You had to have that adapter, for the 45 to play, whereas
Uh,
theirs just has the little small one, just like an LP.
it does it. I thought that there were spindles that were like that. There were record players that actually had a spindle.
Okay.
I could be
I
misremembering.
think I think a thicker one. I think at the radio stations. I think you're right. I don't know so much for home stereo systems, but I always had to have that little adapter to put on there.
Right.
You
Right.
know, that was just interesting how the difference.
Right.
well, well, how about one of the first live shows or concerts that you went to or attended?
Um, wow. Uh, I did not identify as a rock and roll fan, although I was, but it never occurred to me to ask to be taken to a rock performance. And I don't think about this. I'm not sure that I think the Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl, that may have been the first thing I saw, but I was already 20.
Okay,
So,
okay.
okay.
Could you hear them through all the screaming
No,
girls?
no, it was like, I was, maybe in the 20th row or something like that.
Yeah.
And the audience sounded like a jet taking off, a commercial jet. Yes, you could kind of hear them, but it was not. I mean, it was just the screaming started when they hit the stage, and as they left the stage, it was still going on.
Yeah.
And I was not one of those screaming. I really
Yeah.
was a deep appreciator of their music, as was almost everybody else on the planet, right?
Right.
So it was not. I mean, it was thrilling to see them live, but
Yeah. Yeah.
sonically challenging.
Something was missing there.
Yeah.
Yeah. well, what were some other musical influences, bands for you early?
Well, I started out liking all kinds of music, and one of the big likes was classical music.
Okay.
Uh, as an executive at NBC, we received at home every LP that RCA released. It
Oh,
would just come to us. So, and I was far more interested than my folks in listening to this stuff. I pretty much didn't care what it was. So we were getting, uh, you know, Fritz Reiner conducts, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, you name it. We were also getting Chet Atkins,
yeah.
and anything on RCA. So I still have some of those LPs actually, but
Yeah.
but it was a massive collection, and I was always crazy about music.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter to me what it was. I didn't know it at the time, and I only came to realize it later in life that there are really only two kinds of music: good and bad.
I was gonna say,
Right, right,
you beat me to the punch
right.
there. Right.
So, and that's how I am now, and I think most musicians
Yeah.
have that outlook.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. It happens to be North Indian music.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Right.
Okay. I love it. Right. I also love, R&B, and I also love Beethoven and Tchaikovsky. Right.
Broad range there. Yeah, I still have a few of my dad's vinyl. I grew up listening to. He liked that south of the border sound. He liked Herb Alpert,
Sure.
Tijuana Brass.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, and I still love that. Do you remember the band Baja Marimba Band?
Sure.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
another one. Pretty obscure. They weren't quite as popular, but they had that similar sound.
Right.
Yeah, and I think they were on A&M as well. Yeah, yeah, they were.
Probably. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's another. I remember hearing that sound growing up. So I still have an affinity for that south of the border, just from hearing that early on. Well, What was when did you, let me ask you this, when did you relocate to the West Coast?
1966.
Okay, okay. So was there still some development there in New York before you moved out there? Should we talk about, or do you want to?
Musical?
Yes.
No,
Okay,
no.
okay.
I didn't. I was at Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania for 2.5 years. Transferred out to go to UCLA Film School, and the jug band happened at Swarthmore, um, and I guess I didn't really start to think about really playing music until I got to California. Uh,
But you want to talk about City Lights? How
sure.
band, yeah.
We were an eclectic band, uh, and it was early enough in um, rock and roll history in LA that we were able to perform. We played at clubs up and down the strip. We played at some outdoor festivals. We had a little bit of a following, uh, but we were an eclectic group, and everybody was kind of bright, and interesting. And we had one college professor, and Lynn
Oh,
Fawkes today is a big deal in the art world. I'm hoping it's is and not was, because I haven't spoken to him for about 8 months. But he exhibited recently with uh, who am I trying to think of here? Well, he's shown internationally. He's an artist of international stature, a contemporary of people like Edward Shea. Right.
gotcha. I know what
In
you're
that
talking.
world. And I'm thinking of gallery. Anyway, it's not important.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So we were a slightly blues-based band, a little bit of original material.
Did you ever get into the studio and do any demos or?
Yeah, we did some demos. That was, but
Okay. Never any interest from labels or anything.
uh, there was a lack of interest.
Okay, just the
Yeah,
opposite.
yeah,
Okay. They were running the other
yeah.
direction.
Well, you know, we were a good band, but not an exceptional band.
Okay, okay. How long were you with City Lights back?
Probably a year and a half, something like that. I don't remember how we came
Okay,
apart.
okay. All right, all right. Maybe somebody was pulling at a thread and it just kind of started
If
unwinding.
I could remember, I would
Yes, I
share it
know.
with you.
I know. Well, how soon after that did the grassroots enter your orbit? Or
That was also a UCLA effect. Warren Entner uh, and I were students there. We were both film students. Viola,
you have a dog. Oh, what kind of dog? What kind of dog is it?
she's a pit mix and very
Okay,
sweet, but she's also
okay.
our alarm. Uh,
Yes.
something is happening in the back. So Warren and a guy named Chuck Ertmode, and I forget who the drummer was, started playing. I don't know that we performed or anything, but all of a sudden, ABC Dunhill was interested, and we took a meeting with them, and um, I chose not to go forward with them because it wasn't the kind of music that interested me. So they replaced me and went on to become famous.
Yeah.
No regrets, it
I was gonna say,
just
yeah,
wasn't my kind of,
yeah.
you
It
know,
wasn't your
I
cup of
ran
tea.
into Warren. Warren became a music manager, kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But the band was quite successful. It just wasn't, and he knew it. It just wasn't my kind of music ultimately. So,
Right. Yeah. Well, they heavily relied heavily on studio musicians. I know.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. During their careers. So yeah. Well, fast forwarding a little bit to Illinois Speed Press. Now the band began in '65 as a roving kind.
Correct.
and
In
included in the
Chicago. In Chicago.
right in Chicago, included in the ranks Paul Cotton,
Right.
who would go on to greater fame with Poco.
Right.
Yes, yes. And he just, when did he pass away? How many
A
years?
couple of years ago.
Yeah, it hadn't been too long.
Unfortunately, Cal died last year.
Okay,
Cal
okay.
David,
Right, I saw that too.
whom I remained close to.
Yeah.
Great player, great guy.
And you would play with him later on too, that's right. As well.
Yes, he had a club in Palm Springs called
Mhm.
the Blue. Oh my God, what's wrong with my memory? Anyway, he and his wife Lori Bono had a club down there, a blues club, Blue Guitar.
Okay, okay.
And when I was getting back into playing, because I went into a long hiatus during the photo assignment years,
Yeah.
he would have me come down and sit in, pure kindness on his part. Um, and so we became quite close. And he passed last year.
Was it last year?
Yeah, which was, I mean, it was awful for
Yeah.
me, and for Lori, of course. And so, yes, they were essentially the two frontmen, and
Right,
their
yeah.
twin guitar playing was noted by some well-known Southern band that'll come to me as having been
Oh, Allman Brothers?
not the Allman Brothers.
No, not the Allman Brothers.
No.
No,
Uh,
it's another Southern band.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay, all right. Well,
yeah.
that's all right. Well, it was interesting that James William Guercio, known for his work with Chicago, had signed the band to Epic, and he was instrumental in changing the name, I believe, to Illinois Speed Press. He
That's true, but we were signed to Columbia and not
yeah.
Epic.
Okay. No, this is a Rovin kind.
Oh, I see.
And then, yes,
Right,
I should have said that earlier,
right.
but he would Mr. Garcia would produce the ISP's first album.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, and Chicago was our brother band. Um, at the time, the CTA, Chicago Transit Authority.
Yeah.
And they all
Mhm.
pretty much came out from Chicago to California at the same time. We were signed to the same record label. We had the same management, which was Guercio, the same production company, which was Guercio, and in fact lived side by side in two bungalows in Hollywood, and alternated as the house bands at the Whiskey for about a year and a half. Uh, and sometimes the bill would be, just the two bands, one or the other on top. Uh,
Right, right. I just saw recently, well, it's not a recent release. It's been out for some time, but I just watched it on Netflix, a bio about Terry Kath
oh,
and how sad that was. But what a talent he was.
what a player! Jimi Hendrix said that Terry was the best player.
Yes, yes, that
Uh,
was picked up in the story.
and Terry would occasionally borrow my bass
Oh,
and,
did he?
and
Okay.
and play bass with the CTA on stage, and he was a tremendous bass player, tremendous. But
You know,
so is Pete Cetera.
oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, Chicago was the very first live concert I saw. Of course, it was a few years later, 1976, so a few years later.
Right.
But I still remember that. It was a really good show.
They are still happening,
Yes,
and three of the originals are still there, and one of them is Bobby Lamb.
yes,
I'm
yes.
blown away by that.
Right, right. He's aging pretty well too. You look at recent pictures of him.
Okay.
He's doing something right.
Okay. Good to know.
Maybe his diet, his
He
exercise.
was the one of that group that I had some kind of a connection to.
Okay.
Um,
Well, go ahead if you want to share that.
well, no, I mean
Oh,
it's just
oh, I
they
see.
were
You guys made a connection.
we made a connection,
Okay.
especially later. But they were Chicago was kind of it's like they were always kind of in their own environment. connected with one another a lot. We would see them obviously all the time, and Cal and Paul and the others from Chicago, everyone except me, I was the only one not from Chicago, had a history with them, which I did not.
Right. And they were what, the first band, along with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, to introduce that brass sound.
Yes, and in
Yeah.
fact, Blood, Sweat, and Tears was also part of the Gercio management, and you know, we would play on the bill with them quite a bit. I happen to think Chicago is the better band.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. I'm in the same camp you are. Well, let's not go too far down that Chicago trail.
Okay,
Get back pre-oriented here.
okay.
Well, well, the in '68, speaking of Illinois Speed Press, they relocated to LA. How long after they came there did you join the band?
Well, I'm not sure, but it was pretty soon. It was August, I think August of '68, and they had let their previous player who'd come out from Chicago with them, they let him go. I'm going to guess 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, round out the band. It was Paul and Cal, and who else was in the band?
Michael Anthony
Okay, Michael Anthony.
on Hammond B3 and Freddie Page on drums.
Okay, all right, all right,
All
all right.
Chicagoans, right?
Yeah, yeah. Besides
And,
you.
yes, and I have to say this, all of them gone
Right.
as of a couple of months ago.
Yeah. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
I wished I had started doing these about 10, 20 years ago. I tell you guys I talked to, I said, I've got to get you guys when I can,
Right, right.
talk to you while I can. Well, I wanted to mention, see if you recall memorable songs from that debut album, um, and see if you can, shed any light or any memories. Here Today, I like that one. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
Paul's song.
Uh-huh.
Uh, uh, yeah, it was the band had slightly a split personality because the I was not a writer for that band. In fact, I didn't become a writer until the Enzymes. But things were either Cal or Paul or occasionally Michael, and that was all Paul. Um, Hard Luck Story would have been all Cal.
Yeah, yeah,
And I just watched a video of him last night. I get YouTube brings this stuff up because they somehow understand the connection. So I
yeah,
watched him playing in Germany uh, in later years, and he was just a master and also a great singer. They
yes, yeah.
both were. Both
Never,
of them great players, great singers, and the double playing was just great, the twin leads.
yes, yes. Now, speaking of vocals, I think the finest moment on that album, for me, is PNS, When You Come Around.
Paul's
Uh,
new song.
is that what that stood for? Okay, I wondered. I was
Yeah,
going to ask you.
yeah,
Paul's new song. Okay, yeah, great vocals on that track.
yeah. He's a great singer.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then one last track, and I think this was a Cal song, "Free Ride."
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Not the Edgar Winter song. No.
Right, which is a great song, by the way. That is
Right,
it. Yeah.
right, right.
Is it Free Ride? Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
I'm responsible for the final measures of that tune because I suggested that we trim the measures down, and so you'll see it. If it starts out at 8 beats, it goes to 6, it goes to 4, it goes to 2, and
Oh, yes, yes,
that's what I
yes,
remember about that.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I just wanted to get your, dig in there a little bit to your memory and see
Right.
what you
Well, I
recall
still
from
have
it.
some of that left.
Well, that's why we got. That's why we got to
But you've
talk.
seen me not able to access other parts. So,
Hey, I do that
who was
myself.
that band?
Right.
That
I try
southern
to.
band?
I, the
Maybe it'll
the
come up. Maybe it won't.
the the brain farts. Yeah, I try to edit those things out. I do that
You
myself.
might feel free.
Like earlier, trying to think of that website. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it finally came to me. Now, Gercio was a tough taskmaster, wasn't he?
Yes,
Uh,
he was.
yeah, yeah. He ended up letting you and a couple other guys go.
In mid-session
Mhm.
at KNX Studios, which was Columbia Records, in mid-session he fired Vern Johnson, the drummer, and threw me in for measure.
Mm.
And it was brutal, it was cruel, it was crude, and he was a smart guy, and I had liked him, but after that, not so much. It was handled so that there was real humiliation in it. He actually fired us over the intercom,
Did he?
and he gave Cal and Paul an ultimatum. He said, if you don't agree with me, then you're gone too. This is like over the intercom.
Over the intercom, not to your face.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
not
That
a
wouldn't
nice, not a
that
nice
wouldn't
guy.
that wouldn't have set well. No,
Yeah.
with me either. No.
And so,
Well,
yeah, so that was that. And the
that was
road manager, my friend to this day, John Kelly, quit in
okay.
in
You just
sympathy.
yeah.
Yeah. And he felt that the band, in the persons of Cal and Paul, had caved in prematurely because they did go on, as I think you know, to do an album with two studio musicians, and it went nowhere.
Yeah. Right.
It
Right.
had a very dry, manufactured sound to it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
anyway, John's feeling was we would have prevailed absent Jimmy, and the others were scared.
Right.
And I was
Wow.
on the outs with both of them for a long time. I never really saw Paul again. But
Wow.
Cal and I somehow healed it all.
Yeah. That reminds me recently of the news stations and the kind of doing that cowing to Trump, that kind of thing. Just yeah,
Which is a very
buckling
powerful thing.
buckling under, yeah,
Yeah.
like that. Well, so Richie Hayward from Little Feat asked you to join the band.
Yes, he did. But before that, I had gone to Cal. Let me think about this. Why? Oh, Freddie Page died. The drummer died young, the original drummer. And we lacked a drummer. And I was already friends with Richie Hayward, just because this music world was a much smaller community then. So I just knew him. He'd played with Lowell George in the Factory, um, and I would just see him a lot. And I called him up and I said, "We've lost our drummer. You want to be part of the Illinois Speed Press?"
Yeah,
And he said,
yeah,
"Yeah." So I went to Cal and Paul thinking they're going to drop to their knees in gratitude. And I said, "You're not going to believe this. Richie Hayward
yeah.
has agreed to join the band." They said, "Well, we got a drummer." And I said,
Oh,
"Who?" And they said, "Vern." And I
uh,
said, "Who's Vern?"
you didn't know.
"Vern,
No.
Vern Johnson." "Who's Vern Johnson?"
Right.
He was somebody they knew from Chicago. And I haven't, and Vern and I were fired in the same heartbeat, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I have nothing against him. He was a nice guy, but this was Richie Hayward, right? So I had to go back to Richie and say, they filled it.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh,
Yeah.
well." But
Is it?
Richie, leaping ahead to what might become a later question, Richie came to me and said, uh, "You want to be in this thing? I'm going with Lowell George." And I said, "Well, yeah, yeah. Tell me about it."
Yeah.
And they took me in right away. So, but I'm not going to
Yeah,
leave
well,
ahead.
that was my question. Had you heard of Lowell? Had you heard of his
Oh
guitar?
yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah. I used to go see the Factory perform when I was first out here. They would play in places like an empty storefront in Venice,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
he'd been with the Mothers.
Yes, with
Yeah,
with Frank.
and
Yeah. That's right.
he
That's
also
right.
played flute.
Yeah.
He was a great flautist.
That's right. He
Uh,
sure did. Yeah.
and so totally I knew who he was. And so he took me to meet them, and we played, and they said, "You're in."
Yeah.
And as far as I was concerned, great. And anyway, let me hand it back to you.
Yeah, well, I'm into watching music documentaries, and I just recently watched the one on Little George and Little Feat, and it sounds like you might have been involved in the production of that because everything that you're bringing up is what they talked about in there, with Frank Zappa and the Mothers, and Factory, like you said. it went through all of those stages.
No, I wasn't involved.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't. I
But
wasn't involved at all. I knew
yeah, yeah,
Lowell from seeing him
yeah,
perform, and
yeah,
I guess I was seeing Richie too, uh,
yeah.
and Warren Klein, whom I had jammed with occasionally. But after, let me think about this. After being fired by Gercio, I really felt that a good response would be to work on my playing. So I kind of woodshedded for a bunch of months, which meant practicing, reading out of orchestra books and stuff like that. So my game was up when Richie came to me.
Yeah,
And I don't know who they'd had before me, but it hadn't worked out. And so, yeah, I joined Little Feat
yeah,
and no complaints. I mean, it was really like strong music. And I did go with them into the studio. I think it was Village Recorders. And we recorded a whole day or maybe two worth of demos. I played some guitar as well as bass, kind of doubling what Lowell was playing.
yeah.
And it was going great. And then Song reached out to me.
Oh, okay. Well, go back to that. Did any of the demos end up on albums as finished tracks?
I I don't know.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
going to guess no, but I was after the engineer whom I knew for years to give me a copy of the tracks, and he said, "Sure, sure." But he never did.
Right.
So I wish I had those tracks because they were pretty sweet.
Oh,
And
yeah,
they
yeah.
persuaded Warner Brothers to sign the band, and the rest is history.
Yes, exactly. And then the addition of Bill Payne on the keyboards.
He
And
was in the
Texas,
band. It was the
yeah,
band was
he
Bill
was he
and
was
Lowell
already okay.
and
Yeah,
Richie and me. That was the
yeah.
band. Uh,
He's a Texas boy. Yeah, Bill
yeah,
Payne. Yeah,
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 and a
yeah.
great player.
Oh, great player. Yeah. Yes. What a tortured soul, though, Lowell George, and of course with the drug addiction, didn't help matters. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what a talent. What a talent.
That was
Well,
not that was sorry. That was not an issue at the time
yeah,
as I understood it.
not early on.
But we were all pretty stoned, I believe, during the recording of those sessions, and that was a little bit of a kind of a harbinger of
I
what
think.
might lie ahead.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hand it back to you.
Okay. All
You're the
right.
boss.
Well, you just brought up song. How did you come to join the band?
They reached out to me. They let their bass player go because I think he was having emotional problems.
Mhm.
And I had seen them perform. They were a hot band. They did not have the the depth in their writing of Little Feat, but they were great players and they were dynamic on stage and they were very upbeat. And most importantly, they already had a record deal. They had
Yeah.
a deal with MGM, and I thought, well, this is obvious. The choices, you know, they were great on stage. They were glamorous. Mickey Rooney Jr. was the
Right.
front
Yeah.
man, and he
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
as tall as his father was short.
Okay. I was going to ask.
He was like 6'1", and great head of blonde hair,
Yeah.
great singing voice, very, a real tunesmith.
What? One
And
of one of Mickey's wives at the whoever his mother was must have been tall. Yeah, because I know Mickey had how many wives? You know,
senior,
senior. Yeah,
8,
eight. Okay, so
yes.
one that beget Mickey Jr. must have been pretty tall.
It was his first wife. I think her name was Barbara, and I think she she booked sessions for artists, including Elvis. I think she was a
Okay.
booker.
Ah, okay.
There's no one
Now,
left to ask.
right. Now, backtracking just a bit, song originally was like a Chinese TSONG. To s-
Yes, it was, and I made them get rid of the T.
you were the one behind that.
Yes, I said, guys, what? No one knows what you're talking about, including me,
Right, right,
and they don't know how to pronounce it. It
right.
was they, with all respect,
Yeah.
they were strange dudes, right? Mickey less so. I could completely connect with Mickey. He was charming. He was
Yeah,
very funny.
yeah.
He loved to laugh. Um, and we performed really well. That was my favorite recording experience ever, that album.
Right.
Um, but there was some woo-woo thing going on, which is why there was Song with a T.
Okay. Okay. Well, the song album from 70 or 71 was
I
it?
think 70.
Okay. Produced by Kurt Betcher.
Yeah.
And I love all the everything he touched and was involved with, like the Association, Millennium, Sagittarius, with that track "My World Fell Down." All of that, that he was in, and many other artists that he was involved with. I just love that influence he had. Sadly, he's no longer with us either. But I want to mention the standout tracks from the album.
I want to,
Oh,
before you go on,
go
let me
ahead. Go
interrupt.
ahead. Sure.
Keith Olsen was his co-producer.
Oh, yes.
Keith went on
Yes.
to Fleetwood Mac and other
Yes, he
glory.
did.
And
Yes, he did.
as a team, they were spectacular. I
Right.
loved them.
What a tandem. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well,
Okay.
okay, well, that's all right. Couple of tracks that stand out to me. Banana High Noon. Love the vocals on that and how they kind of go back and forth. It's like I didn't listen through through headphones, but I bet it's a great experience. And the percussion, almost like an African tribal,
Yeah.
sound. Yeah, yeah.
Shelley Silverman,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
great
okay,
player.
yeah. But I really enjoy that one.
I think that tune was kind of invented in the studio.
Was it? Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it really has no lyrics, really. We were just goofing around.
Right. Kind of impromptu, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, wow. And then the other one is Medicine Man. Uh, yeah. Now that one to me sounds kind of like a more jazzy Santana.
Clark Garman,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
has passed as of a couple of months ago,
yeah.
um, uh, I believe was a Berkeley grad, Berkeley School of Music grad, and a virtuoso player, as you hear. And I think he should have been like right up there in terms of recognition with people like Jeff Beck,
Yes, yeah.
and who else am I thinking of? Who replaced Jeff Beck in the Yardbirds? Uh,
Uh, Jimmy.
yes, Jimmy
Oh,
Page.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Right.
he was that kind of player, and Medicine Man was his doing.
Yeah,
And yes, I mean it's a spectacular track.
yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It is. I enjoy all the elements in that, and everything kind of works together.
Right.
Works well.
Atypical too. It's the only track
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
album that's an instrumental and that goes off in that direction.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, what did you guys hear back from critics or fans? What was the response to the album?
I'm not sure anybody listened to it, to tell you
Okay.
the truth.
Okay.
I've been in touch, I guess, either through Facebook or something with Michael Lloyd, who was the
Uh,
A&R person
yeah.
at MGM, and
Yeah.
he responded to something I posted, and he said, I loved Song. And I wrote back and said, what happened?
Yeah.
I mean, we were told, it came to me indirectly, we were told that we were going to be the next big thing
Yes.
after Eric Burdon, which was, I guess his solo album was their debut product.
Yes.
That did not happen in any respect. And I wrote to him and I said, what was that all about? I said, I believe you were a huge fan, and a booster. And he wrote back, we couldn't get any radio play.
Right.
But I mean, it was, it's like, it's classic show business story.
Yeah.
It's a red carpet. We're putting you on it. You're, going to experience glory.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just not only didn't happen, but I think at that point it kind of broke the spirit of the band. And I think Mickey disappeared into his little
Yeah.
bottomless pit, and
Yeah.
there was just nothing left to pursue. And
Well, you know the old story too. If they can't pigeonhole you, put you in certain genre or another, it's
Well,
hard.
maybe so.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe so, but that's been untrue in so many situations. Look at Steely Dan. Was there
yeah.
anybody like Steely Dan before them?
Right, right, right. Well, somebody has to break the mold. That's
Right,
that's what. Yeah,
right.
but traditionally they like to throw you in one category. And if they can't, it's hard to get behind the band, or so they say. And
Now, it
promote.
may have been that they didn't have the cash to get the radio play.
Okay, yeah, that could be too. Yeah. Well, yeah, Michael Lloyd. Now he was the one that was in the West Coast Pop Art Experimental Band.
Well, you know more about this than I do.
Yeah, it's hard to say
I
that.
know that band. I know of the
Yeah,
band.
yeah. And he, and all of those kind of, guys were kind of floating around the same orbit. Going back to Kurt Boetcher, and and also he worked with Kim Fowley, a
Mhm.
little bit too, but then went on to do, like you said, the producing as well as that. So, wow. Well. Then how long after that did you, pardon the pun, but you hitched a ride with Blues Image?
Oh, that
Uh,
was very brief.
okay, okay,
They pulled me in. Was that afterward? I'm not sure it was.
okay. May have been before.
Yeah,
Okay,
but I played the Fillmore with them. I'd known them because there weren't a lot of bands then, and we were all kind of on the same circuit. And they had me replace Malcolm, I forget his name, but he was the right bass player for the band. I was not. They needed a certain kind of R&B set of chops that I couldn't deliver. And I remember the Fillmore experience was bad for me because I knew I wasn't cutting it. And I guess it was obvious to them, but they let me go after that appropriately.
okay.
Wrong,
Did
wrong.
you did you say Malcolm? Did you say Malcolm
Malcolm Jones?
Jones? Yes, I just looked that up.
Yeah,
Malcolm Jones.
Malcolm Jones. Yeah, I don't know why he left the band, but
Okay.
he was an R&B player, and
Yeah,
I didn't have that in me.
yeah.
Not that I wouldn't have wanted to have it in me, I just didn't.
You just didn't. Yeah, yeah. Right. It was kind of like that
I had very
grassroots.
rapid chops, like
Right.
solid, 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 metronome solid, keep it up, keep it up, keep it up, keep it up.
Yeah, yeah,
I couldn't cut it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right, right. So certain demands from certain bands, sounds that they want. Yeah, you're
right,
right.
yeah,
Not everybody fits that mold.
right.
Well, well, in the
Before
early
we go
set,
on, if you don't
sure.
mind, I'd
No,
just
go
like to
ahead.
put in a word for Kurt Betcher.
Okay,
I was crazy about. We
okay,
formed an independent friendship. I was probably closer to him than anyone else in song.
okay,
He was just he was just a lovely guy and a genius as far as I was concerned. And so we palled around quite a bit.
okay. All right. Well,
That's all I
yeah.
have to say.
No, well, great.
Great guy.
I love to hear those the
And it
personal
kind of
stories.
crushed me when he passed.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yes. R.I.P. Yes, definitely. Well, in the early '70s, you produced educational film strips.
yes.
How did you get involved in that work?
I was an English lit major uh, with a minor in art history. If there'd been such a thing as a minor at Swarthmore College, there wasn't.
Okay.
And I transferred out in mid-junior year to go to UCLA Film School, partially because I was crushed over the breakup of with my girlfriend at Swarthmore, um, even though I'd instigated it, and my parents were already living in LA. They moved there in advance of me because my dad followed the television industry out here when it migrated from New York. He came out first. My mother joined him, and so it was partially that, but UCLA Film School. So I went there, made a lot of connections, and when the music years were behind me, I felt several things. One is that I had to get the educated part of myself back, and the other was I started like figuring, well, what can I do? I've been taking pictures for much of my life, not with any real intention, but it kind of became more so, and I thought maybe someone will hire me as a cinematographer. And I went to the West Coast unit of Encyclopedia Britannica Films, whose mandate was to produce classroom audiovisual materials. And they said, well, we got all the cinematographers we need, but do you know do you know what classroom film strips are? And I said, sure. I was lying.
But that's the right
Yeah,
answer.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
gave
I
the
said,
right
of course. I said, well, do you think you could do that? And I said, absolutely. So
answer.
actually what happened was, possibly from having been on the road in the West and driving through the deserts, I'd become fascinated with deserts. So I developed a pitch for them, a project. I said, do you have anything on the American deserts? And they said, no. I said, let me draw something up. I pitched this project. They took it. And so I was the producer, writer, well, researcher, writer, and also photographer for that project. They paid me the grand sum of $10,000 to do this, which to me was like 100,000, you know.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
back then.
And so I arranged this whole thing so that I could spend 2 months in the desert, which is what
Uh,
I did. I actually, I and another buddy from UCLA Film School went out, slept on the ground all over the Southwest for 2 months, no tent, just on the ground, all over the southwestern portion of the country. It was fantastic.
did you have any run-ins with any critters while you were out
Sure,
there?
almost, but there are very few critters in the
Yeah.
desert of any description. I mean, there are probably more ants than anything else. But if you think about it, there's
Yeah.
an absence of vegetation and of
Right.
water. So,
Right.
populations tend to be
Not
very
many
small.
things live out there.
Right.
Yes.
So, but
Yeah.
we have the coyotes, in the distance as company almost every night.
Yeah.
I grew to love them. And the occasional scorpion
Okay.
would show up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Any
lizards,
lizards?
lizards, of
Lizards?
course,
Yeah.
snakes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved it all.
Okay. You just kind of took it all in.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I wonder if I ever, in my classes back in junior high, I guess it had been around that time, well, saw any of those
You
film
had to
strips.
suffer through my work.
Yeah, I don't, I can't recall.
It was very primitive, the technology
Yeah.
for a classroom film strip was basically a turntable
Yeah.
with a microphone and a loop of film,
Yeah.
clunk, clunk, clunk. I mean, it was really more like the 19th century than the 20th century. That's long gone. But I went on to do more of that because that was successful, and they hired me then to do classroom film strips in the earth sciences. So all of a sudden, I'm studying all this stuff that I knew nothing about. So, which was great. It was a learning experience. I knew how to do research. I loved it.
Oh, the research, yeah. Well, I might have seen some of those, yeah. Yeah, growing up. We always look forward to those days, either a film or a film strip.
Yeah.
You know,
Really, you
oh,
look
right.
forward to a film strip.
Yeah,
I
and a
got to
film
put you on
strip.
the very short list.
Right.
Okay.
You know,
I
we don't
found
have,
one guy.
yeah, we don't have a quiz, or we don't have
Right,
to hear a lecture today. We
right.
can just kind of kick
Plus,
back and,
we
you
can
know,
also sleep if
yeah,
need
there you go. There you go. That's right. That's right. Especially during the films. Yeah.
be. Exactly.
Right. In 76, you became a freelance photographer.
Right.
What were some of the magazines your photography ended up in?
Well, I started out kind of locally. Um, I worked for Home Magazine, which was the Sunday supplement to the LA Times. Um, I shot some jobs for the Washington Post because my college buddy Ken Turan was a staffer. He went on to become quite well known as a writer. Um, uh, and I got to photograph some interesting people, and you just kind of start building a portfolio. So I kind of moved up the ladder until I found myself getting hired by Life magazine in 1979. Specifically, it was during the time of the hostage taking in Iran. and John Loengard, the director of photography, called me and gave me this assignment, and I went over the moon. I mean, I thought, really, this is happening? Yes, I was assigned to go to the LA Coliseum, where there was to be a demonstration of, anger against the Iranian regime. Okay, and the instructions were, if the place is jammed, show us that. If it's not jammed, show us that. It was the latter. It was not jammed. It was a bunch of like really angry young guys who wanted to punch out the Ayatollah, right? As if this could happen, as if it would solve anything. So I covered that. They published me full page, and that was the beginning of my run at Life. But I went on to shoot for Time and Esquire and Smithsonian and Newsweek and People and Us Weekly and Fortune and Forbes, and like 30 or 40 magazines, on a somewhat regular basis. California Magazine, a regional magazine. Smithsonian was one of my absolute favorites to work for. And then that segued into working for the entertainment industry, and for design firms and for some ad agencies. And then ultimately it led to Jane Fonda.
Okay.
So I was her only photographer, I guess, for a couple of years. I photographed all the exercise video covers in her publicity sessions.
Yeah.
But by that time, the magazines were starting to feel pressure. The beginning of the end was coming on. And I had been asked by stock photo agencies for years to produce for them, and I thought, no way. I said, I'm not going to pay to shoot. That's not how it works. I get paid to shoot. But now I took a harder look at it, and I thought, So I kind of, because I'd made significant money, especially with Jane, I thought, all right, I'll invest a little bit. I submitted some stuff to an agency called the Stock Market, based in New York. It did well, so I did a little more. And then all of a sudden I was a full-scale production company, and I made a lot of money because I think I was one of the few, if not the only, photographer shooting stock who'd had an assigned career. So I had a skill set.
You had that under your belt, yeah.
So I prospered mightily. And then, time being what time is and what it does, the stock industry fell apart. And today, the average price of a license, this is true, this is not a made-up number, is down from its peak by 99%.
99%.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you were getting $300 for a license, then it's $3 now.
Wow.
If you're lucky, because I still get residuals, but it's lunch money.
That same percentage is the disparity in wealth. The top 1%.
Well,
It's
true.
about
But
nine.
It's technology.
Yeah.
And because at a certain point with digital cameras, anybody can take a picture.
Right.
So, and also the quality of stock right now, it was never art, but I did it artfully. It's just, as far as I can tell, it's very basic now.
We also did some album covers too, photography for a few albums.
Did I?
Yeah, I know that Teen Wolf, Michael, what's his name? The
Michael
actor.
J. Fox.
Yeah, Michael James Fox. You had something to do with that. I saw that online. Wow.
He had an album?
Well, I think it was the soundtrack for the movie.
I did 2 publicity sessions for Michael.
Okay.
So probably something out of
it. Probably something to do
migrated
with that.
Cover.
Okay. Because they have you 2 different listings in Discogs as Rob Lewine, and then Rob Lewine 2, in parentheses 2. But it's you. I believe it's you because the 2 is the photography. The one without a number is the music.
I see. Okay.
So I think they set you up differently like that.
I'm trying to think about what album cover. I did some photography for Columbia Records. Yes, I did. Yes, I did something for Hubert Laws, the jazz player.
Okay.
but not a lot of album covers.
Okay. I can edit this out. I imagine it's you because Kurt Betcher, there's an innocent
Oh
face.
yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
He
Uh,
had he asked me if he could use a picture of a sky on the back cover.
yeah, this is your photography. Teen Wolf, original motion picture soundtrack. Hubert Laws,
Yeah.
The Bliss Band, and Mother's Finest. Mother's Finest has you
I
credited.
shot for them. I was not aware that that became a cover.
Okay. Okay. It may maybe you need to check it, see if there's
Yes.
any royalties around for you.
Oh, royalties? I think you got the wrong sector.
Yeah, there may be something to look into. No, that's funny. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm
So
actually this interview has a reverse. So
right,
I'm
right,
learning
right,
stuff.
right. So yeah, it's under Rob Lewine two is these
Probably
other
in the second,
the
my
second, right, the
non-existent
second.
son.
Right, the second. So, oh, that's interesting. Well, when did the music bug begin to bite you again?
Well, 2006.
Okay.
I'd gotten to know Murphy Dunn because Phyllis, my wife Phyllis, knew him, and we were hired, Phyllis, Murphy Dunn, Sandy Helberg, also a groundling, and I, to write um, my life. I'm sorry, it's making me laugh. We wrote a script retroactively. Two crazed producers had bought the rights to Arnold Schwarzenegger's. It's gonna sound like I'm crazy. First film, which was called Hercules in New York. It was like a B picture.
Yeah,
Arnold, was nothing but a bodybuilder at that point. But there was this crazy film. They bought the rights to it, cut it apart,
yeah,
turned it into a completely different narrative,
yeah.
and hired us to write a script for what they assembled. So,
Really?
and it was a lunatic experience. It was, four of us looking at existing footage and saying, okay, he says, and then
Yeah.
she says, right? And and what happens next? Oh, they're in a steam room. So yeah. So anyway, we laughed so hard throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
We didn't laugh so hard when we got stiffed
Oh no,
by the
I wouldn't.
producers.
No.
Towards the end of it, they paid us well up to a point, and then took advantage of us after that. But
Oh,
anyway, Murphy and I just hit it off. He's a funny guy. He's very talented, and he's a good musician. He was with the Blues Brothers band. He was in the movie,
yes.
right? The
Well,
Murph.
yeah.
You know.
Well, there was something when you said there that reminded me of. I didn't ask this question, but wacky lunacy reminded me of. Who were you involved with from Firesign Theater?
Well, Phil Proctor.
Okay. Okay.
Um, we're friends,
Okay.
and we went to the same schools in Manhattan.
Okay.
But
Did he produce something, an album, or help produce, or he was in the liner notes to one of the albums.
the Firesign Theater, also under the Gercio umbrella, wrote the liner notes for the first
Liner
Enzymes
notes.
album.
Liner notes. That's what it was.
But Phil is one of my closest friends.
Okay. Okay.
But it's really a modern development, because even though we were in the same grade school and in the same prep school and signed to the same producer, management, record company, it was really Phyllis, my wife, who knew him in adulthood and introduced us. And
Okay.
but we date back to age. When I first laid eyes on him, he was 12 and I was 8 or 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
You
bad.
were, yeah,
But
you were young. Yeah.
yeah, but
Well, back to the enzymes. Go ahead.
yes. Oh, anyway, so um, I never got rid of my basses. I'd stopped playing because I became a photographer and it just was not relevant. But as things began to wind down, Phyllis suggested that I maybe connect with Murphy and we play a bit. So we would go down to Stein on Vine, which is a music shop on Vine Street, still there across from Local 47, the Musicians Union. And we would just kind of screw around. And so he's a keyboard player and a songwriter. At the time, I was just a bass player, and we would noodle around. And I said at one point, "Come on, Murphy, let's get a drummer." He said, "Absolutely not. I don't want to do that." I said, "Come on, come on." He said, "Oh, I don't want to. It's too scary." I said, "Come on, we're having fun." So I don't know how it developed, but we connected with people I knew already. Two-thirds of the Groundlings house band, Larry Treadwell, whom I've mentioned already, and Howard Green. Howard is a classically trained percussionist, timpani guy, and a great drummer. So I said, "Come on, let's just go play with them and see what it's like." So we went to a rehearsal studio, and it was great. I mean, these guys are great players. Larry Treadwell, multi-instrumentalist, intuitive, genius musician, and Howard, and we just started becoming the Enzymes. And somewhere in there, I somehow realized I should probably try to write a song or two. And I became a writer, and I wrote about 30 tunes. And we started recording. Larry had this little crazy garage studio, crazy in that it was jam packed. I mean, you could walk sideways to get in there.
Yeah.
Everything looked like it was put together with baling wire. But Larry is a brilliant engineer and producer, and what he got of us out of that little room is phenomenal.
Yeah.
We put out 2 CDs, and it's the most fun I've had in a band ever, by multiples. I felt so comfortable with these guys. Everybody was smart and articulate, and and we were older, right? So all that other stuff was just behind us.
Right.
And Howard, I guess, knew Roxanne and Phyllis, and said, not my Phyllis, but Phyllis back in
Yeah.
Brooklyn. Why don't we? So we became a 6-piece unit, and best experience, best musical experience in my life.
Right, right. I've heard that doing these interviews that when you're doing it just for fun, you enjoy it
Yeah,
and not for the pressures of the music
right,
industry, not to make money. When you're
right.
doing it, because you enjoy it, that's when you really have the most fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so that's good. That's good.
Well, we
That,
played out actually quite a bit, and we were not averse to making money. It just wasn't going
right,
to happen.
right. It wasn't going to be. Yeah, exactly. At that point in your life, no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the culmination of my music experience, at least in terms of playing out, was for my 50th Swarthmore College reunion.
oh, okay.
Took Larry and Howard and Willie Etra, who'd been the musical director at the Groundlings, back to Pennsylvania with me and performed as a front man for the first time in my life.
Yeah,
Age,
yeah.
what was I? Early 70s.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And it was thrilling. Beautiful hall. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, just a gorgeous room.
a good turnout. Yeah,
It was adequate. I mean, it seated 400 people. I think there were 80.
yeah. Okay,
Good
okay.
enough for me.
Yeah, yeah. Right,
Yeah.
right.
But I mean, the college was so generous. They rented, they hired a audio team to come out, and set us up. It was just, it's like a dream come true. Played only my own tunes,
Yeah,
sang them all.
yeah. That's got to be satisfying.
It
Yeah, to
was
do.
it was just great. And I mean, if that was turns out to have been the end of that, I'm happy.
Right, right, right. And I think before we started, you mentioned that you did get to play with Cal
Yes,
before he passed. Yeah.
well, a bunch of times.
Okay.
And
Good.
I've been down to visit his widow earlier this year, actually. Had to be down in Palm Springs for a reason, and she's a great singer in her own right, and yeah, tough loss. That was a tough loss. He was a brilliant player and a lovely guy.
Well, we've kind of come to I think the end of our talk here, unless you can think of anything else you'd like to add or mention or that we might have overlooked.
Uh, I can't.
Okay. Okay.
Except to
Oh,
say
come
that
on.
I'm
Oh,
I'm
come on.
playing.
Think harder. You
Okay,
can.
here's the period at the end of the sentence. I'm playing again.
Okay.
I've been playing quite a bit at home. So the
Okay.
intention is just to be as good as I can be, and I play a couple hours at a time,
Okay.
studying out of orchestra books, the same books I had in the 1960s. You know,
Yeah.
playing along to stuff, playing
Yeah.
a little bit of jazz, which I'm not really well equipped to do. But yeah, I mean, and then occasionally I go play with
Okay.
Larry Treadwell.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So you're staying busy. Yeah.
I, I'm I'm probably a better player now than I was when I was in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And that
Are you
will.
still, so are you still taking pictures?
Oh
Still,
yeah, I have I have this my current and probably last phase is as a headshot and publicity session photographer. It's the same thing I did for people like Michael J. Fox, except that it's the lesser stars who come to me mainly. Usually a big deal person is brought to you by a publicist or a film studio. Um, so I'm a little bit below the radar, but I have a full scale studio, beautifully equipped. My longtime assistant slash collaborator has been with me since
uh,
1989. We have it dialed in. You
yeah.
come to me, you're getting a complete, absolute professional treatment. Uh,
Yeah.
and I love taking pictures,
Yeah.
and I don't mind the money.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah. You gotta love it. You gotta
yeah,
love it.
I do. I mean,
Yeah.
I would almost do this for nothing,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
because it's
Right.
just what I bring to it. Forgive me for going on, but it's not the technical skill. It's the appetite for working with people
Yeah.
and knowing how to and enjoying pulling a performance out of them.
Yeah.
It's in my skin. So
Well,
yeah, yeah.
in some ways, I can echo that sentiment with doing these interviews because it is maybe I've found my calling, as they call it, after many years, because I get so much out of it. I
Well,
enjoy.
you're real good at it,
Yeah.
and I've
Well,
really enjoyed this.
well, I do appreciate that, Rob, and uh, I will again send you a copy of this probably next week sometime.
No
And
hurry.
again, keep on keeping on, as they say,
Yeah,
right?
you too, my friend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I will, and all the best to you, and keep in touch.
I'll do it.
I like to hear what current goings on and any developments in music or photography. If you'd like to drop me a line or
I'll send you a set of pictures
hey,
that
there we go.
no one has seen really so far.
Oh, that would be nice.
I want to thank you for this interview.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. Very welcome. And it's again, I enjoy doing these, so I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't, right?
I get that.
So,
All
all
right.
right.
Thanks so
Well,
much,
you're very welcome, Rob, and all the best. All right.
to you.
Okay. Bye bye for now.